There, we welcome now to the Element Wealth Studio SuperTalk Multimedia Journalist Ben Milam. All right, so Ben, man, will you try to unravel this rather convoluted web concerning this bribery case in the city of Jackson?
Well, I guess I think calling it a complicated web, is pretty fair characterization. We are still trying to untangle it, and there's a lot of information that is yet to unfold. But just to set the stage a little bit, to frame this, for those who are not aware, in August, Ward 2 Jackson City Councilwoman Angelique Lee was indicted and pleaded guilty to a federal bribery charge. In those records that were unsealed after that indictment, a co-conspirator A was named, which led us to believe that there was at least going to be one more indictment in this. And following that indictment, her sentencing date was set for November 13th, which is a little later than typical in a case like that. And last week or the week before, a judge suspended her sentencing date. So until further notice, there's still no official date set on that after that suspension. And so, Senator John Horn mentioned it a second ago when he was talking to you. We also kind of feel like that that kind of gives a nod to Angelique Lee and others possibly working with the feds on this, and that could be one of their primary points of gathering information in this case. And this morning, more court records were unsealed after the second indictment in this case. It was not a city official, right? The rumors are that more city officials are going to be indicted in this case, but it was not a city official. It was Sharik Marv Smith of Hinds County. He was charged with one count of conspiracy to commit bribery, the same charge that was levied against Angelique Lee. Now, where this web gets a little more complicated is not only was there a co-conspirator A again named, which points to the fact that Smith is not co-conspirator A that was initially named after Lee was indicted. There's a co-conspirator A and co-conspirator B, co-conspirator C. So two additional co-conspirators unidentified in these court documents. And the really interesting part is co-conspirators B and C were identified as elected city officials of Jackson.
I wasn't aware of that.
Agents of the city of Jackson. And so, that's when you start to kind of dig into the details and go into these allegations, to where you start to try to unwind that web a little bit and see who you think might be these co-conspirators. We don't deal in rumors. We don't report on rumors, but we do maybe echo some of those rumors when they come from another city official. And Kenneth Stokes, about a month ago on SuperTalk, mentioned that some other city officials by name could see indictments. And when you look into these records, specifically for co-conspirators B and C, and the allegations that are being followed by the FBI, and this co-conspirator C, again, an elected city official as identified in these records, allegedly directed city employees to move voting deadlines in these votes for this potential, which ended up being a staged real estate development staged by two FBI agents, move those deadlines, which can only be done by the mayor, right? And co-conspirator B,
I can't keep up with it,
was just let me know if you have any questions, because I'm trying to simplify this as much as possible. And co-conspirator B was labeled as allegedly offering votes for this real estate development project, which would lead you to believe that this is a city council member who is the only one who, or the only type of city official who can vote on these type of projects. So B and C, we know, are elected city officials. Co-conspirator A is also tied up in this, funneling money to co-conspirators B and C. And so the more information that comes out in this case, the deeper it gets, the more rumors and the more allusions to high-ranking city officials in Jackson kind of unfold and start sticking to some of those names that have been floating around a little bit.
It truly is hard to keep up with. So I guess the question is there any hint, indication, other than it just saying elected officials, that mayor, other city council people are involved? I mean, we're kind of running out of elected officials that work for the city.
We are, and elected officials that can direct voting deadlines, which, again, co-conspirators see allegedly directed voting deadlines to city employees, which only the mayor can do, and co-conspirator B, a voting city official on this type of project, which would lead you to believe it is a city council person. And so we don't, I think you can make your own conclusions about this, but I think there is so much more information to come out about this. All three of those co-conspirators, by the way, were labeled as unindicted co-conspirators. So there are at least 3 more indictments coming in this federal bribery case. And another thing, too, when you think about just kind of the big picture of this, going back to these 2 FBI agents who staged themselves as real estate developers from Nashville, Tennessee, you have to ask the question, okay, well, why would they wouldn't just randomly pick out Jackson as somewhere to stage a real estate development unless they had information leading them to believe there was ongoing corruption among these city officials that they approached.
Man, oh man. All right, so what's going to happen next? Is there any indication of any of that, or would we be guessing?
Well, a lot of it is conjecture at this point, but one interesting thing is that there was no sentencing date, at least identified in these most recent court records, and that it's, again, conjecture. I think a lot of it, if not all of it, is conjecture at this point, but you would maybe think that Sharik Smith could be, kind of in the same place as Angelique Lee, of possibly some kind of deal with the FBI that would help them unfold this information and unveil evidence. It really feels like kind of a slow setup to bring down these elected officials that were identified in these records this morning, and perhaps more of them.
Man.
And it's really disconcerting, because I think a lot of people for a number of years, maybe even decades, have kind of had an inkling of corruption in Jackson. That's another thing that Senator Horn alluded to. And now, it's pretty obvious that was going on. Now the question is, how deep does this go? How far can they backtrack? Do they backtrack? Are they able to tie other pieces of corruption to this specific staged real estate development project, and the corruption, the bribery that went on for this specific project in this specific case? I don't know. We don't know. I don't think anybody knows other than the FBI and perhaps these other Jackson City officials. So we're just kind of waiting right now for the proverbial shoe to drop, and that's what we've been waiting on really since Lee was indicted and pleaded guilty, and this just feels like the next step in that process.
And when was that? That was a while ago,
in August, middle of August.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's being slow-walked, but it could be because the FBI, the folks are just trying to get all their information.
Well, yes, and federal investigations like this typically do move rather slowly, but it also, when it moves as slowly as this, that makes you think, along with the fact that there are 2 additional co-conspirators named in this, it seems like they're kind of stacking more and more people on top of this case, or in this case. That makes you think that there is some real depth to this, and that there is a lot of information to collect and to tie to people. If it was just one person, one city official that was involved in this, it would be a lot quicker, but that's certainly not the case, and I would expect it to kind of wear on, and I think a lot of people might be getting impatient with this, and we already had one unidentified co-conspirator. Now we have 2 more. Now more rumors are going to fly around, but I think that's only going to continue as more information slowly kind of leaks out of this case.
Man, oh man,
it's a mess.
Well, meanwhile, the city is in desperate need of leadership. That's a whole other issue, but this is a huge distraction and an impediment to getting anything done.
It is, and it's also almost exactly 6 months away from the upcoming municipal elections in Jackson in April 2025.
Unbelievable.
Mayoral and city council.
And we're right in the throes of this really major issue here.
Mm-hmm. We are. We'll keep you updated.
Man. Yeah. What a scandal in the city of Jackson.
Yeah.
Really, I think that aligns somewhat with the overall condition of the city. Thanks for coming in, Ben, and unraveling all that for us.
Sure thing, Gerard. Appreciate it.
We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio with a final segment.